Good day, everyone. It's time now for our tropical update with Alberto, of course. Today is Saturday, the 26th of May, 2018. I'm J7409. Thank you so much for watching this video information on Alberto and sharing it with your family and friends. Here we go up here. This morning, as of 4 a.m. this morning, Central Daylight Time, Alberto's winds are still 40 miles per hour, just as they were last night. The minimum central pressure hanging around the same at 1005 millibars. It is moving a little faster though. Movement is to the north-northeast at 7 miles per hour. And if you're tracking it, it's 19.9 north, 85.6 west. That's what's happening with it as of early this morning. Let's check out some things from the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center. I'll make this as brief as possible, but this will be for the most important areas when this gets closer to land. This was put out at 4:40 Central Daylight Time this morning, and this is covering portions of southwest Alabama, northwest Florida, south central Alabama, and inland southeast Mississippi. Alberta moving north-northeastward toward the Yucatan Channel. Now, there's no changes to the watches and warnings, and there's a lot of them, and I'm going to show you maps and all of that in just a moment. The current watches and warnings, here we go. A storm surge watch and a tropical storm watch are in effect for Baldwin Central, Baldwin Coastal, Escambia. I probably said that wrong. Excuse me. You know if you live there. Coastal, Mobile Central, Mobile Coastal, Okaloosa Coastal, and Santa Rosa Coastal. Now, the storm is about 760 miles south-southeast of Mobile, Alabama, or about 740 miles south of Pensacola, Florida. And the storm intensity is at this moment, it's still just like it was last night, 40 miles per hour. Now, situation overview. Alberta has made a northward turn early this morning and is forecast to continue a slow northward motion across the Gulf of Mexico this weekend and toward the north-central Gulf Coast on Monday into Monday night. Alberta is currently forecast to move into or near coastal Alabama late Monday night. Alberta will bring copious amounts of rainfall to the area, especially Sunday into Tuesday. Excuse me. So this is going to start tomorrow with rain, last all the way through Tuesday. Tropical storm force winds will likely impact coastal portions of the region late Sunday into Monday. Storm surge inundation of 2 to 4 feet, possibly higher, is expected mainly Sunday night into Monday. Isolated tornadoes will also be possible mainly tomorrow night into Monday night. So you've got tomorrow night, Sunday night, all day Monday, and Monday night. There is that chance of tornadoes in these areas. So far as the flooding, prepare for dangerous rainfall. Flooding having possible significant impacts across extreme southeast Mississippi, much of southwest and south central Alabama, and western Florida panhandle. And here's the potential impacts. Moderate rainfall flooding may prompt several evacuations and rescues. Rivers and tributaries may quickly become swollen with swifter currents and overspill their banks in a few places, especially in usually vulnerable spots like small streams, creeks, canals, and ditches when they overflow. Floodwaters can enter some structures or weaken foundations. Now, several places may experience expanded areas of rapid inundation at underpasses, low-lying spots, and poor drainage areas. And some streets and parking lots take on moving water as a storm drains, and retention ponds overflow, as we all know. So, key driving conditions will probably become hazardous in some places, some road and bridge closures. So prepare for locally hazardous rainfall flooding, having limited impacts roughly north of Highway 84. Now we get to the storm surge. Prepare for life-threatening surge having possible significant impacts across coastal portions of Alabama and western Florida panhandle. The potential impacts in this area include areas of inundation with storm surge flooding. It's going to be occurred by the waves, of course, and the damage could be to several buildings, mainly near the coastal sections, sections of near shore escape routes, and secondary roads become weakened or washed out, especially in unusually vulnerable low spots. Remember, you know where you live, folks, okay? And I'm going to show you something else in a moment. Now, major beach erosion with heavy surf breaching dunes, strong and numerous rip currents, of course, and moderate damage to marinas, docks, boardwalks, and piers. Several small craft broken away from moorings, especially in unprotected anchorages. So, elsewhere across the portion of the southwest Alabama, northwest Florida, south central Alabama, and inland southeast Mississippi, little to no impact is anticipated. So far as the winds go, here we go. Prepare for dangerous winds having possible significant impacts across portions of southwest Alabama, northwest Florida, south central Alabama, and inland southeast Mississippi. The potential impacts include some damage to roofing and siding materials, along with damage to porches, awnings, carports, and sheds. A few buildings could experience window, door, and garage failures. Mobile homes, of course, damage is anticipated, especially if they're unanchored. Unsecured lightweight objects become flying torpedoes, as we all know, and several large trees snapped or uprooted, but with greater numbers in places where trees are shallow rooted. Several fences and roadway signs can get blowed over. Some roads impassable from large debris, and more within urban or heavily wooded places. Scattered power and communication outages, but more prevalent in the areas with above ground lines. So that's what that's looking like. And we do have that chance of tornadoes. Got to put this up here for you. The occurrence of isolated tornadoes. Now this is for southwest Alabama, northwest Florida, south central Alabama, and inland southeast Mississippi. The potential impacts. Now these isolated tornadoes can hinder the execution of emergency plans during tropical events, as we all know. A few places may experience tornado damage along with power and communication disruptions and outages, okay? Locations could realize that their roofs are getting peeled off buildings, chimneys topple, mobile homes pushed off foundations or overturned, large treetops and branches snapped off, shallow-rooted trees knocked over, moving vehicles blown off the roads, and small boats pulled from their moorings. So, evacuations, if you're thinking about that, listen to local officials for recommended preparedness actions, including possible evacuations. If ordered, do so immediately. So that's what they're telling us this morning for these. This is one of the main areas of concern, and this is under a hurricane local statement. Now, that was just from the National Weather Service. This is from the National Hurricane Center. I know this is long. You need to know what's going on, though. The rainfall. Alberta is expected to produce total rain accumulations of 10 to 15 inches with isolated totals of 25 inches of rain across western Cuba. Now, these rains could produce life-threatening flash flooding and mudslides and rainfall accumulations of 3 to 7 inches with maximum amounts of 10 inches are possible across the Florida Keys and southern and southwestern Florida. Heavy rain will likely begin to affect the central Gulf Coast region and the southeastern United States later this weekend and continue into early next week, just as I told you, like the National Weather Service did. Now, the flooding potential will increase across this region early next week, as Alberto is forecast to slow down after it moves inland. Remember what I told you just yesterday, how I thought it was going to go and what it would do? Now, the tropical storm conditions are possible within the watch area in Cuba and the Yucatan Peninsula through today. Tropical storm conditions are possible within the United States watch area beginning tomorrow. Storm surge. The combination of storm surge and the tide will cause normally dry areas near the coast to be flooded by rising water. So, if you live across any of these areas in the low-lying areas, and the flooding, of course, with the surge would be more prevalent during the time of high tide, okay? And Horseshoe Beach to the mouth of the Mississippi River, expect 2 to 4 feet. If it's high tide, it will be more. If you live around Horseshoe Beach to the mouth of the Mississippi River, anywhere close there, that's what you can expect. The deepest water will occur along the immediate coast. Surge-related flooding depends on the relatively time into the surge, of course, compared with high tide. And of course, we also have this tornado stuff we just talked about. Whenever we have any kind of tropical weather, there's always, I can't stress this enough, there's always a chance of tornadoes, okay? Now, a tornado or two may occur over the Florida Keys and parts of southwestern Florida this evening, Saturday evening and Saturday night. So this afternoon through all night, you guys over the Florida Keys and parts of southwestern Florida, you do have that chance of tornadoes for this afternoon and all night long. The swells, of course, from Alberta is going to cause life-threatening rip currents, so please keep that in mind. Folks, remember the wind shear maps that I showed you a few days ago? If you follow me, well, that's what's slowing Alberto down, and that's why Alberto isn't strengthening right now. Only slow strengthening is expected today due to the broad nature of the system and continued influence of westerly shear and dry air. Now, there is an opportunity for more significant strengthening tonight and tomorrow when the shear is expected to lessen and Alberto moves into a region of upper level defluence while it remains over the warm waters. Okay, now, the model also suggests that Alberto will likely make a transition to a full-fledged tropical storm instead of this disturbance that's named in about 36 hours. Yeah, I know. This is going to take a while, my people, but this is what's going to pan out. And the official intensity forecast is fairly similar to the previous one, and it's also in line with the IVCN and HCCA consensus models. Now, only the HMON model is now the only intensifying guidance that makes Alberto a hurricane before it reaches the coast. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So I think some of this year, at one point, it looked like it wasn't going to get in it. But you know how everything changes and the weather changes like blink your eyes. I think some of this shear is why it won't become a Cat 1. We'll have to wait and see. Who knows? It might not. Although a hurricane watch could still be required for portions of the Gulf Coast later today. The recent intensity guidance trend suggests that this possibility is decreasing right now. So that is wonderful, wonderful news, wonderful news. Here's our track this morning. Wherever you see the yellow, down around Cuba, down around Mexico, Camille, on up around Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, You guys are under a tropical storm watch. This is a watch at this time. That's what it's looking like. And the way they have it, by Tuesday morning around 1 a.m., it should be hitting land. This is Tuesday. We got today, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and possibly Wednesday. Rain's still going to be falling, but it should, once it hits land, like I said last night, it's going to start to decrease immediately as it moves through Alabama and Tennessee and Kentucky on up into Ohio, probably dumping rain, and some more rain for you guys. I know you guys want to see this. This is the storm surge watch and warning graphic, and everywhere you see the purple, you are under a storm surge watch. This is a watch at this time. Now, how much storm surge could you get? This graphic from the Hurricane Center. Wherever you see the blue, and I'll blow this up in a moment. Once again, before I really get going, though, over here around Louisiana, you guys are looking pretty good right now, but we got to blow this up so we can see it. Wherever you see blue, when I do blow it up, that's like over a foot, and if you see yellow, that's over 3 feet, and I'll show you the map right here. Greater than 3 feet above ground, greater than 1 foot above ground. So, you know where you live, you know how much you can handle. Let's blow it up right quick, and we will bring it on down. We'll start over here with Florida and see if we get any yellow popping up anywhere. So far, this is just greater than a foot above ground, which is very good. But when we do get up here, around this area in here, let's see if we can get any towns coming up. And we'll blow this up some more. We do have some places in here that will be more than 3 feet of flooding, okay? Wherever you see the yellow, and there's none down around here. This is up around here. If you live in these areas right in here anywhere, you're probably going to get some flooding. I don't mean you're going to flood out. You're going to get some flooding, okay? Use your head, people. You know how to read these things, and you've been through all this just like myself for someone living on the water. As we move on up, we're going to see what happens if we see any more as we move across. And now we're getting to some blue. Let's take this down again so you can see really well. Yeah, here we go. We got some up here in the Mobile area. You're going to get a lot of rain. This is right now, this is like just a little over 1 foot. Let me show you again. Greater than 1 foot. When it's the yellow, that's greater than 3 above ground. As we move around, here we go. When we get to Gulfport, this is looking like it's mostly blue. We'll blow it up. You know, if you live in any of these areas. Once again, I think everyone who lives along the coast or anyone who lives on the water itself is used to a certain amount of flooding at times. And there is a little down in here now, but it's not anything great. Okay? Of course, you know these areas are going to flood some. So let's bring this on down a little bit more so you can get a better picture of what's going on all around. And there you have it. Okay, so just, we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. It's still too early to tell. All of this, of course, can change. It probably will change to some degree, for the better or for the worst, a little either way. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Just use your head, pay attention, and please stay alert and make sure you've got everything in place in case you have to leave. So far as rainfall goes, we will start up in here. This light green is 1 inch of rain. This is as of right now. I'm sure this will change too as the days go by. And the darker green is 2 inches when you get to the yellow around the South Carolina coastline and all the way up from Wilmington, not quite to my house, all the way up into this area. This is 4 inches of rain. 4 inches of rain wherever you see the yellow. And then, of course, we've got this down in here. 4 inches of rain. Slacks off along the Florida coast to around 2 inches. But when we get up to the Florida Panhandle and parts of Alabama, possibly just a little bit of Mississippi, that's 6 inches. And of course, there's going to be a little more or a little less in these patterns. So remember, keep this in mind if you live in a low-lying area, because some of this can produce flash flooding. Okay, everybody in these colored areas has a chance of flash flooding, but the greatest percentage, I wouldn't worry too much in the green. And in the yellow, we have a chance of some flooding, but I don't think it's going to be that drastic. It could be, okay? But you really got to watch out if you're up here around the panhandle of Florida and you're in Mississippi and you're in Alabama, right in these areas, because you guys got a great chance of some flooding coming on in an instant, very, very fast. So keep that in mind. Could there be some hurricane force winds in this? Here's the probabilities for it. You can see what's happening right now. This is within the next 120 hours. This is for hurricane force wind speed probabilities. As we move down, you can see it's 5 to 10% chance. So that's a very good thing. Hopefully that won't happen. I still think there might be some pretty tough wind gust in this system unless something happens between now and when it does get closer to land, but hopefully it won't be a hurricane. It will just be a tropical storm. That's what it's looking like right now. And this is your tropical storm wind within the next 120 hours as it loops through. You can see how it is going to grow. The red, yep, that's like 70% or greater. And this is within the next 120 hours as it loops through. The really bad thing about this storm is I'm afraid it's just going to be a slow mover. Let's hope it speeds up. That's going to tell the tale either way, for better or for worse with this storm. Let's hope it keeps moving to some degree. That's the update for this morning. Everybody, I know you're prepared, or I hope you are, everywhere up and down the entire coast, okay? The entire coast and all around. You should be ready for the hurricane season of 2018. Make sure your pets are safe. Make sure you've got all the supplies you need. Make sure you've got your plan in place. And please, for goodness sakes, make sure that your neighbors are, your elderly neighbors and handicapped neighbors are okay. And please don't forget about your pets. So with all that said and done, I'll keep my eye on this throughout the day. If I see anything drastic change, I'll put up another update. Do not worry. Everyone stay safe. I love you guys, and much peace, love, and kindness to each of you. And I thank you so much for watching and everything you do for me by sending me donations, watching my videos, sharing this information. Everyone have a good day.